Welcome to The Essence, where we have casual conversations with impact leaders, quick pulse checks with no BS. Today, we are talking to Joan Low, founder and CEO of ThoughtFull. Hi, Joan. How's it going?
It's good. Hi, Katy. Thanks for having me here today.
Fantastic. So thank you for your time. I'm going to pick your brains for a couple of minutes. First question is, tell us in one sentence what ThoughtFull does.
Sure. ThoughtFull is a digital mental health company, and our vision's a simple but an ambitious one. So our goal is really to make access to end-to-end mental health care more seamless and affordable for people. And we do that through our proprietary platforms, ThoughtFull Chat, as well as ThoughtFull Chat Pro, where users as well as mental health professionals can respectively, access as well as provide that end-to-end care.
That's great. Sounds like something that we really need to check out during these times. On that note, could you give us your top 2 tips to maintain mental well-being on a daily basis?
Good question. I think everyone needs this now more than ever. So for me personally, I think 2 things I do will be 1, something that can help me to take a pause. And then 2, something that helps me to actually take stock. Number 1, I do take time to meditate. And the other thing as well is actually speaking to a coach helps a lot. So I myself use ThoughtFull Chat and I do have behavioral coaching with my own counselor.
Thank you for sharing. So on this topic, in Asia, there's a bit of stigma around mental health issues. Do you think this has shifted in terms of people's mindsets in Asia? And if there is, what are the signs and signals you're seeing?
The pandemic has really shifted the conversation and accelerated it. And you're seeing it from top down, right? So you're seeing it from the fact that regulatory processes have accelerated in mental health care. In the last, I would say, 3 years, we actually saw a 2-fold increase in people seeking help related to, stress and anxiety that came from the pandemic. And so at the very ground level, you're seeing things really coming to the surface. And at the top level, you can't ignore that anymore.
Wow. Seems like it has really shifted in a major way in terms of policy-wise, corporations thinking about employee well-being. That's really good to know. So at the backdrop of this, let's shift to impact capital. So ThoughtFull recently raised a seed round of funding from a variety of VC investors, family office, angel investors in the Asia Pacific region. Congratulations. What was the toughest part of fundraising you had to overcome personally? Could you share?
Yeah. Well, thank you. Definitely was quite the process. I think for ThoughtFull itself, we raised, $1.1 million oversubscribed for an industry that is very nascent here in Asia. And I think the fact that we got here was because, there were obviously wins, but also challenges along the way. And any founder will tell you that fundraising is a process. At the time when we were raising last year, there were no more than 2 or 3 of us within the region that had already raised some form of funding. I think one of the things was educating the market as well. And then I think the other one as well was also on gender equality or rather female representation. I think as I was about to close the round, I realized that I literally had no female representation on my cap table. And it was just a reflection of the market of investors. And so, thankfully, we do have representation equally now.
Wow, I definitely hear you on the gender part. And at SFI, that's also a reason why we focused a lot on gender lens investing last year. And there's a lot of work to be done. So for ThoughtFull, what's the biggest impact you've achieved to date?
Just on the chats itself, the app has, touched many, many lives, tens of thousands of lives. And by and large, what we find is that up to 80% of people who do use thoughtful chat actually see a significant reduction in either depression, anxiety, or stress levels. And anecdotally, I think some of the qualitative feedback that we've been getting, I think one particularly resonated with me. Someone actually said that even for the first time, I'm seeing myself in the future. And that kind of impact is sometimes not quantifiable in every aspect, but it is definitely a change. Yeah.
Well, that definitely sent a chill down my spine. Thank you for sharing that. So the last question is really around venture funding in the mental health space in Asia. You mentioned that it has increased significantly in the past few years. So for investors who are interested to back homegrown companies like ThoughtFull, what advice would you give them?
I think the first thing would be to actually understand which part of mental health the company is targeting. Similar to someone saying, oh, we are a healthcare company. Healthcare is very big, and there are many different, categories or verticals in that. Similarly to mental health in Asia as well, there are many ways to slice it. And I think for investors as they're coming in, kind of really understanding the problems that the company is trying to solve and for who and how. I think those are probably some of the best ways to truly understand what the projection might look like. Healthcare is a very localized issue. And so really taking the time to understand locally what the problems are and the solutions will be important.
Fantastic. So I just have 3 quick questions. One is overrated or underrated. You just have to tell me that. First one, CBD, overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
ESG, overrated or underrated?
Overrated in talk, but underrated in implementation.
Impact, overrated or underrated?
Same thing. Overrated in talk, underrated in actual execution.
I love that. Last thing, ending on a positive note, 2 items that keep you going these days.
The mission of what we're doing. I've never worked harder in my life, but the mission keeps me excited every day to do what I do. That's one. And the second one is my daily morning routines that anchors me for every day.
Well, thank you so much, Joan, for your thoughtful sharing. And we wish you all the best for 2022 at ThoughtFull. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.